You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain and the Top 10 Gardener Podcast. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show.
And we are back with Lisa Waters-Lane in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are people talking about out in their gardens, and can we learn something from that? So welcome to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing great. It's kind of nice to be off the line and in the studio. I've been on the floor, helping the crew with flowers and perennials and herbs and veggies, and they got a little overwhelmed, and so had a lot of. So the average semi will hold about 40 racks of flowers. Well, we had like 60 racks. There's a truck and a half of flour just coming in.
Two.
They were overwhelmed, so just came in to kind of help them out, and we knocked out the place when we got all done. The people are going, "Oh, this is the most beautiful I've ever seen the gardens, and it's so pretty." These are friends and folks that have seen us grow up over the years. It kind of tickles my heart when I hear that. So thank you for just commenting how nice the place looks. We are trying, and when you fill up a place with trucks and trucks and trucks of plants that are beautiful, it does feel like a botanical garden. That's our goal.
Yes. And now with that new shade structure, you just want to bring your cup of coffee and peruse.
Bring your dog. Bring your cat. Someone brings their parrot.
Yeah, somebody brought a parrot in the other day. It was, I forget which, I don't know, my parrots. But we kept hearing this weird noise. It's like, was there something in the parking lot? What? And it was this bird just making all kinds of interesting noises, but it was fun. Yeah.
So garden questions, we should cover some gardening things for folks. What is a good one that someone might have asked? Well, see if they can stump me. I had, what was that? Earth Day, went out to Prescott Valley. I told the kids, if you can stump me, I'll give you a free flower. And they came up with some really good ones. And luckily, even if I didn't know the answer, I could bluff.
You could bluff.
So, talk with confidence, look them in the eye.
There you go. All right. Well, Lauren is having some raised beds made to grow mainly vegetables and a few herbs. She wants to know, how deep should the beds be made?
Oh, sure. So if you do your homework, it'll say 8 inches. What I find is that's not quite deep enough. If you can go 2 blocks or an extra, 16 inches, I would say be minimum. That'll help you with your deeper rooted, bigger things. It gives you more options down the road. Plus, it raises it up a top. You're building raised beds to get rid of the crummy soil you're trying to garden in. Well, get rid of it. Don't even be tempted to go down into that junk. Just put an extra block and just an extra layer, and then fill it up with good soil. Will be the secret. So I don't know how big this thing was, but if you're doing a filler, it's a really big bed, you'll probably have a dump truck bring in soil from a rock yard. Well, rock yards don't have the best garden soil, but they got something that they're taking silt, they're adding wood chips and manure. Those are our 3 resources. And so they're blending that together using a dump truck in a cement truck mixer. They just mix it all up and then dump it out. Go, here's our garden mix. That's good for filling up a bulk of the bed. The top layer, I would say the top 6 inches of that soil, of that bed, should be Waters potting soil. The potting soil will make the difference for whatever you're planting. Flowers, vegetables, herbs, lavenders, butterfly bush, whatever it is, it'll be a game changer. Don't blend it into that filler soil. Just use that as filler and then top dress with a 6-inch layer of Waters potting soil and start planting. You will have, instantaneous success. All organic, all natural. It's safe. Most soils are not organic. The wetting agent they add to it is a chemical. We don't do that. We purposely keep our soils 100% organic. So you can confidently go out and plant your tomatoes, plant your cilantro, your oregano, or cucumbers, whatever, and enjoy it. Or whether it's flowers. You don't want to hurt the butterflies. Keep it organic. Anyway, I can go on and on. That's my soapbox.
Yes, you
could. We need to be better. We can be better with the environment.
We can be better.
Oh my gosh.
That is true. All right. So Constance wants to put a rose on the northeast corner of her house. It will get about 4 hours of sun max. Do you think it will do okay? And if not, what other type of blooming shrub would you recommend?
Yeah, constant. It's not going to be okay. It's not enough sun. A rose, it might bloom, but it'll be kind of leggy. It'll start to reach. It'll grow up and reach for the sun. It'll try to get out there where the sun is. So 4 hours is not enough for a rose. You're better off with some other varieties. Roses need at least 6 hours of sun or more. And the more you give a rose, the more roses, the more flowers you get. And so 4 hours, I think, just going to be a thin, wispy. We just wouldn't be happy. So many better choices. That's a good place for hydrangeas and hollies and azaleas and wigelia and rhododendrons. And there's
Abelia.
so many abelia. You can go
Mhm.
on and on. We have an entire section. It's under a shade fabric area to keep the sun, to mitigate the sun on those plants and make sure they're happy. We have an entire section. You walk through that. There's hundreds and hundreds of plants. One of them is going to call to you, go nuts. Take me home, plant me, enjoy me.
Mhm.
Is look for that. So probably a rose, not ideal. That's one where it's good to ask before you commit to spend $30, put a rose in, and 3 years later you're going, why doesn't it ever bloom?
Mhm.
Well, you should have asked ahead of time.
That is true. All right. Next question is from Stephen. He bought a dwarf peach tree and put it in a large container. He says there were quite a few peaches developing. He wants
Nice.
to know, do we let them all grow? Do we
Oh,
let none of them grow?
good.
Do
Yeah,
we thin it out? What do you
that's
do the
good.
first
Yeah,
year?
yeah, Stephen, great question. So all of the fruit trees that we grow here at Waters Garden Center, we purposely bring in varieties of the right age. So the people that shop here at our garden center had a nickel for every time I heard, I don't want to wait. I've got the money. I'm old enough. I'm retired. I got my dream home and I'm not waiting for peaches or apples or pears or cherries or plums. I want it to be of age now. So all of our trees are of fruiting age. Typically, peaches have to be about 6, 7 years old before they're old enough to start producing fruit. So obviously, you've got an older tree. So that's good for you. It's fruiting. Good. That's great. Enjoy. What the book says is don't let fruit trees fruit the first year because they're either fruiting or they're rooting. You want them to focus all their energy on a root. If it was a fairly large root you had, so it's a 5, 10, 15-gallon size, it probably has enough roots. I would thin the fruit. And I would say peaches are notorious for producing so many fruits. The roots cannot keep up with all this fruit production. And so we tend to thumb prune or thin the fruit off of that. We'll thin it by about 50%. It's very painful, but you're taking all the weaker, competing. If in doubt, pick it out. Get it off of there, and leave the strongest ones left. And so all the energy from that root will focus in on those remaining fruits. You get a nice, big, juicy, melt in your mouth peach. Oh, Stephen, you're going to be so happy. But I would say go ahead and let it fruit. Enjoy it. But I would take off probably half of all those smaller fruits. And you don't want to, you're kind of dime size. So they're obviously formed. And so you're just trying to thin those off real quick. It'll take almost no time. You pick them right off. You don't need scissors or pruners. You just pick them right off. And so be aggressive. It hurts most folks. It seems like gardeners don't pick enough of their fruit off. And so they're left with a whole bunch of pits and not much fruit on these plants. That's very important for plums, peaches, pears, and apples are notorious for. An apple will put on like a cluster of 5 apples on the end of a branch. Then the branch starts to weep and sag and it starts to break. Well, take all of them but 1 or 2 apples off of that cluster. As soon as you can see, they're forming. There's obviously 3 of those that just aren't as strong as the other 2. Take those 3 off of there. If anything's damaged at all, a blemish, take it out of there, get it off of there. It'll be game changer. So hopefully that answered Stephen's question. Enjoy. You are going to have, sounds like an amazing peach crop. Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardeners. We are out of time. We'll be back after this. Ken here at Waters Garden Center, and we had a new flower come in. It's one of my favorites. We got it last year as a test, soft launch. This year we went all in because it performs well. It's a new sunflower. It's called Sunbelievable. The reason it's called Sunbelievable is supposed to put 1,000 flowers on, 1,000 sunflowers per year. I don't know if it does 1,000, but it does hundreds and hundreds, I can tell you that. So this is done, it automatically sets a new flower by itself. So a new one's coming up. So it's always got more flowers coming up. Unbelievable flowers. Those unbelievable flowers, sunflowers, here at Waters Garden Center, available for your gardens this year.
You're listening to Ken Lain, aka the Top 10 Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Family Garden Center. Listen daily as he answers the top 10 questions of the week, streaming on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts.